I just have a few other things to mention about the general picture of Buddhism. Why people like to practice Buddhism is that although we may emphasize the practice of things like generosity and self-discipline and meditation, which may seem to be rather personal aspects of our character, but in fact, if people practice in earnest, then there are a lot of benefits which that person will see in their lives. It's not the idea that you have to wait until the next lifetime before you see the benefits of practicing Buddhism, because there are things like a positive worldview, especially harmony with your fellow person, compassion for others in the world, increased levels of patience. All of these things come as a byproduct of the fact that we are practicing and cultivating our own quality of mind and quality of character. So this is a reason why people often practice Buddhism even if they don't necessarily call themselves Buddhists. On the level of society, Buddhism actually has a very good track record because there has never been a war fought in the name of Buddhism. Of course, there have been wars fought in Buddhist countries, but the reason for those wars has been more political ones rather than for defending religion or about issues of religion. So Buddhism has a very good track record for being the arbiters of peace in the world. Secondly, Buddhism has a good name for supporting social justice. You may have heard about something called the caste system in India, where there were very rigid divisions in society concerning marriage and who you could associate with, and even where you could eat or drink water. In the time of the Buddha had a big role to play in abolishing the caste system, because he didn't accept the differences of caste within his own monastic community. Anyone who came to him to be a monk, then they had to leave behind their caste loyalties, because he said that just as the rivers of the world may have different colors, but once they run into the sea, then they all have the same taste, which is the salty taste. And in the same way, although people may come to Buddhism from different caste, whether it be kingly or priestly or merchant or laborers, but once they became Buddhists, then they were all to be treated the same, which is to work towards enlightenment. And in fact, even recently, 50 years ago, Buddhism returned to India and again had a role in helping to smooth out the differences between the castes when the new Indian constitution was written. In fact, it was written by someone who later became a Buddhist, Dr. Ambedkar. One feature of Buddhism which may be novel for those who have only studied about other religions is that the validity of Buddhism doesn't rely upon belief in a creator God. In Buddhism, we believe that the fruits of our actions come to us because of what we do, not because of some destiny or fate which has been put upon us by some mysterious entity or being outside of our own comprehension. So we believe very much in the power of our own actions and our own potential to uplift our state of being by what we do. So we think that through the law of karma, what we do now is in fact dictating what our future is going to be like. If we do things which are good in our present, then our future is going to work out good. But if we waste our time in the present time, or we do bad things in the present time, then that again will dictate that our future will be one of failure and disappointment. So it's in our own hands. We don't think that it's in the hands of some other hidden being or entity. And this is the only religion which has this point of view. Some people think that Buddhism is the same as humanism. because humanists also believe in the power of one's own actions. But Buddhism actually differs from humanism in having a view which extends beyond the grave. In this particular picture, you can see a patient lying recently deceased in a hospital bed, but at the end of their bed you see another person very similar in appearance but rather more hazy. This is the Buddhist belief about what happens when we pass away. For as long as we're not able to escape from the cycle of existence, then we have to go on after death. But the form in which we continue, it depends on the quality of the life that we have led. So, as we mentioned, we have body and mind. The mind is almost like a spirit which will continue into a new life until we are able to perfect ourselves. So death is not the end of the story, but we have to have a perspective of our life now which extends to the quality of life we can expect even after we pass away. We see that the human state of existence in fact is very important because it's like a learning experience, and if we learn the lessons of our human life, then lifetime after lifetime we will see an improvement in our quality of existence. If we don't learn the lessons of our human life, then we end up in afterlife existences where we undergo retribution, negative retribution of various sorts, and we keep on coming back into the human realm ultimately until we learn the lessons of life. Okay, this is without going into too much detail, but in Buddhism we do have heaven realms and hell realms too. That's not something I can go into within the time available. Finally, I leave you with the words of Alfred Einstein, who, although was committed throughout his life to a scientific worldview, had very positive things to say about Buddhism. This is because he saw Buddhism as being a religion which relied upon cause and effect. A lot of things in Buddhism are, in fact, quite compatible with the scientific worldview. It's not like some religions where science and religion are always at odds with one another, but rather science and Buddhism can go in parallel. But what we accept in Buddhism is that science is qualified to answer some questions, but Buddhism is more qualified to answer other questions. So in fact, we just had the chance to meditate together. The subjective parts of our experience, the things which we experience personally inside of ourselves, these are not normally the sort of experiences which science is interested to experiment upon, because you cannot find empirical evidence for the things which each person individually experiences. But yet science is very well qualified to answer questions about things which are material in the outside world, and Buddhism also accepts that science is very good at doing this. But it's like we have two systems which are best suited to answering different sorts of questions about the world, but they are not contradictory to one another as far as we can see. So this is why Alfred Einstein was someone who saw Buddhism as having a bright future for the world. So that is about all I have to say about Buddhism for today, and my hope is that you find some parts of Buddhism which are perhaps useful for your own practice. Things like the meditation especially are very useful to practice, to cultivate the quality of your mind, whatever you believe or whatever your religious affiliation is. But I think the message I'd like to leave you with is that Buddhism, it is like a set of methods which anyone can take away and practice. It's not exclusive. It doesn't require that you call yourself a Buddhist for those Buddhist practices to have good effect. But Buddhism, I think, is a very important religion for the future because it does give people the responsibility to make up their own minds for themselves. And I think this, more than anything, suits religion and Buddhism to the modern age in a way which doesn't patronize the person who practices it.